Morning, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen. Morning, everyone.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of June 6th, the Commissioners' meeting, and also the public hearing of June 6th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Okay, do we have any public comment regarding pending resolutions?
Steve, you're
Sorry.
Thank you.
If not, we will move on to resolutions. Andy Conrad, County Engineer, and we have Dan here today. Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Welcome to fall. It's like 30 degrees outside. I have one resolution for your consideration today. Resolution approving change order number 5 for the Friendsville Road Bridge Rehab Project, bridge number 8, and then the weekly permits.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next up, we have Debbie Kiley from Job and Family Services.
Good morning. Just 3 resolutions for your consideration this morning. The first is authorizing a sub-grant agreement between Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and Medina County Job and Family Services. The second is authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the county general fund to the public assistance fund for the county's mandated share. And lastly, authorizing an agreement with the National Association of Counties for training with their high-performance leadership.
Move to approve the 3 resolutions. Second.
Discussion?
I just was curious that the amount of the training was $1,000, but are those things that your team can have access to like multiple times?
Yes, the training is offered, I think it shows on there July through November, but it's only one person that's going.
Okay.
That's the business administrator is attending.
But either way, it seemed like a good value.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a pretty cool organization. They do a lot of work between federal and state governmental agencies on behalf of counties, and then also offer these type of learning opportunities to help sustain and attract county government employees.
Gotcha.
Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Thank you, Debbie.
Sure.
Very good. Thank you.
Next up, we have Holly Murin, Human Resources Director.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On our personal changes resolution today, we have 2 new hires in maintenance, 15 rate increases, 5 at Job and Family Services, 4 at Sanitary, 2 in Human Resources, 1 at Dog Shelter, 1 at Office for Older Adults, 1 in Recorder's Office, Records Retention, 1 at County Home. We have 2 promotions, 1 at Print Shop and 1 in Transit, 1 leave of absence in maintenance, 1 resignation in Transit, and 1 probationary removal at Job and Family Services.
Move to approve.
Second? Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Chris Jacob, County Administrator.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of Finance Department, first resolution amends the appropriation measure resolution by increasing or decreasing appropriation levels. Second resolution amends the 2023 appropriation resolution by transferring appropriations for the Sheriff's Office print shop, our building insurance line item, Board of DD, and our Transit Department. Next resolution authorizes the purchase of 6,900 gallons of regular unleaded gasoline for the engineering center. Excuse me, low bid Ports Petroleum at $2.504 per gallon. Next resolution authorizes expenses for county officials to attend training sessions. This is for Veteran Services Officer Training in Dublin, Ohio for $1,000. Next resolution allows claims and authorizes issuance upon the treasurer in settlement of such claims. This is for the weekly bills. This week's total, $2,853,537.91.
Move to approve the 5 resolutions.
Second.
Discussion? I think that's the lowest finance resolutions we have ever had. Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
I think that reflects positive things.
Yes.
Next resolution I have is authorizing a change order for the Medina County Human Services Center exterior repair project. This is the second change order. Calls for an additional $39,585.35, and again is for repair of structural steel. Corresponding to that is the next resolution, which amends the architectural and engineering services agreement for the Human Service Center exterior repair project. This is an additional $7,500 in total compensation. This is for structural steel engineering services. Next resolution authorizes the leasing of 2 vehicles for the Medina County Sheriff's Office. These are for jail transport purposes. Next resolution adopts the county license tax of $5 per motor vehicle as provided in Ohio Revised Code, Section 4504.24. The board held 2 public hearings as required, one on May 30th of this year and the other on June 6th of this year. Next resolution authorizes, on behalf of the sanitary engineer, the engineer to request qualifications for professional design services for the Bachtel and Branch Road Water Main Improvement Project. I believe Jeremy had provided you with background information via an email that he had sent detailing the proposed project area. And that's all I have this morning.
Yeah, move to approve the 5 resolutions.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just wanted to make a comment regarding the licensing tax licensing fee. First off, many of you are aware that we commissioners take very seriously when we have to increase fees as taxes as well. Normally, when it comes to tax increases, I've historically said that people ought to be able to weigh in on this. The law does not allow commissioners to put this to the ballot. So first and foremost, it is one we take with very serious consideration because it's an increase. Secondly, I'll point out it really is a user's fee. As much as it's called a tax, if you don't have a vehicle on a road, you're not paying it. And so it really it is identified as such. And third, I'd say is I think the engineer has very convincingly provided us with evidence about the need for this increase. I think he has demonstrated. There was, whenever I was in the legislature back in 2017, and we added the permissive tax license tag fee for the counties. At that time, I think the Board of Commissioners and the engineer wisely held off because they didn't need it at that time, but that was 2017. As we know, the price of materials, the cost of construction has actually eroded the effective value of any kind of money coming in for those purposes, as well as even when there was a gas tax increase, the revenues have not come in relative to those projections. So the engineers, I think, has demonstrated not only the need, but also the desirability of having that increased revenues come in to be able to fund the necessary, the county roads and the county bridges. And I just want to indicate, obviously, my level of support, but thank the engineer for his thoughtful process in reviewing this. Obviously, give credit to the commissioners and the engineer back in 2017, not implementing this, but also seeing the wisdom of what we do need to now, just to keep even with the cost of construction materials with those improvements. And I think it's expected by many individuals that we have to have a good level of service on our roads and keep them in good repair. The county has a responsibility, and we have a responsibility to make sure that the funds are there so the county engineer can do his job and keep those bridges and those roads under good repair. And so I would point out too, too, that this does not take effect immediately. It has to go in, and nobody will see that until July 1 of next year.
Yeah,
So,
a full year.
yeah.
And at our public hearing, we did talk about, although there was an increase in gas tax, our revenues actually for a couple years were decreased due to COVID and lack of travel, and the safety of our roads and bridges is vital.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would echo comments of Commissioner Hambley, and I think the restraint that was shown by, being the new person on the board, but the restraint shown by both the engineer's office and previous boards allows us to have that tool in our tool belt, and we certainly don't go about it lightly, but I think that the case was made in a compelling way that now's the time to do it.
Anything else? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring up Laura Toth for a first department update, but I'm going to actually do a proclamation, or you want to do it after your report?
Can we do it after?
Sure.
It'll be the big,
Okay.
Slam bang finish.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning to all of you. We have a lot of great things going on this week around the county. Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in Wadsworth, we're having the grand opening of the Suprema Senior Center Cafe. The cafe operated, or the center is operated by the city of Wadsworth, but the cafe has been without a vendor since October of 2022. We've been gearing up for this since January when we signed the contract. We had a soft opening on May 1st. The voucher program restarted on June 5th, and we are now operating with a full menu Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you all down at Suprema tomorrow morning. Last month we had Senior Day. It was an overwhelming success with Office for Older Adults welcoming over 675 seniors at the community center, the Medina County Fairgrounds. Guests enjoyed the Wild West theme and the country cooking band. Over 80 vendors offered education and information to those in attendance. Guests also enjoyed a box lunch courtesy of Honey Baked Ham and Jimmy John's, who came through at the last minute when we had that number of people show up, and that we're able to turn around, I think, about 50 meals in about 25 to 30 minutes. So they're freaky fast, just like their commercials. The weather also cooperated beautifully. It was just a great day. Our next large-scale event will be our luau, which is scheduled for Friday, August 18th. Certainly not that large, but hopefully 80 to 100 people will attend that. I just got news this week that we will be receiving 272 packets of senior farmer market nutrition vouchers. Those are $50 packets, 10 $5 vouchers that seniors are able to utilize at several farm markets throughout the county. Our distribution day for that will be Tuesday, June 27th, starting at 8:30. So I usually get there early, open the building about 7:30, let people come in, hang out, and then we have typically 3 employees who meet with seniors and will distribute those voucher packets. It's always a big day. We like to organize our chaos, so hopefully it'll be a smooth distribution of those vouchers, and everybody gets a list of what farmers' stands accept the vouchers. So it's a pretty popular program. And we're really excited to get 272 packets. Usually we're right around 200, so it's a bit of an increase that we're looking forward to handing out. Finally, this Thursday, June 15, marks Elder Abuse Awareness Day. This annual event reminds us all to look for the signs that an elder neighbor or loved one may be a victim of abuse. We have banners recognizing the day in front of our building at 246 Northland, and also in front of this building. Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize the Adult Protective Services staff who are present. Michelle Hearns is the supervisor of the program, Shelley Nagy and Stacy Webb. If you guys could come up, hopefully we'll have an opportunity for a little photo op here. And also, I would like to to ask Debbie Kiley to come up as head of Job and Family Services and I want to thank them for their willingness to contract with Office for Older Adults to handle this important program. In 2022, APS took 580 referrals of abuse, neglect, self-neglect, and/or exploitation. 42% of those were investigated, so that's about 240, 250 cases that were investigated. And they do a fantastic job, and it's everyone's job, as the proclamation will hopefully state, to do what it takes to keep seniors in our community safe.
All right, with that, I'm going to read the proclamation proclaiming June 15th, 2023 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our communities. 2023 marks the 13th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Medina County. Its recognition will promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. Medina County Office for Older Adults recognize the importance of taking action to raise awareness, prevent and address elder abuse. Ageism and social isolation are major causes of elder abuse in the United States. We recognize that it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. Preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human service, and transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Commissioners of Medina County, Ohio, do hereby proclaim June 15th, 2023 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Medina County.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
So on Thursday, we'll all be wearing these T-shirts, and so I brought one for each of you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I brought two. I don't know where the other one went. I thought there were three. There might.
It's okay. The guys can have them.
Should we present here?
How to put that?
Oh, microphone.
Like that.
She'll go get the proclamation.
Excellent.
I'm going to do a really quick.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. See y'all tomorrow.
Great.
Okay, next up, we have Denise Testa from Planning Services.
Did you bring us T-shirts?
I did not. Only good tidings, though. All right, good morning. So I have one resolution for your consideration before I launch into my report. It is revising resolution number 23-0326 related to authorizing Kleinfelder to submit the program year 23 Community Housing Impact and Preservation Program application with the state of Ohio on behalf of Medina County.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Roll. Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, and that's actually a good segue into our CHIP application is due on June 21st, and we are on track to submitting that on time and in completion. So, for our July 5th Planning Commission meeting, we are reviewing 3 major subdivisions, 1 variance for a large lot application, as well as 2 text amendments. So that is moving forward well. Our next subdivision regulations work group is scheduled for June 28th. So that is moving forward as well. In terms of our community development block grant programs, grants rather, our program year 20 is moving forward as well. We will close out CDBG 2020 at the end of August. The Montville Cobblestone Park construction is complete.
So we're very pleased with that. Lodi Playground should be installed at the end of this month. So that is moving forward as well. And obviously, the Wadsworth sidewalk funds that were transferred, we just received our first invoices for those individuals today. So we're very pleased how that is going. For our critical infrastructure Lodi Bridge replacement, those contract and bid documents are up for prosecutor review right now. As well, we also are continuing on with our fair housing initiatives. We actually, in cooperation with Community Legal Aid and the City of Medina, met with Union Square apartment residents last night, and that went very well in order to discuss some of their concerns and give them some options on their next steps. Between June and December, I will give presentations throughout the county, our townships and cities and villages about fair housing. I've also been asked to present a training to the creative housing maintenance and housing staff as well in July. So I'll work with them to present some of that. I also will attend the FEC, so the Financial Empowerment Center Academy, at I believe it's June 21st, in order to explore strengthening our initiative with United Way as part of our CDBG grant. So I will report back to you on that. And I also received from NOACA that we are in phase 1 of the electric vehicle charging station program, so there was a bit of a delay in identifying a contractor. So at last Friday's meeting, they approved a contract to move forward with that program, and that is the electric charging station in our parking lot. So, any questions?
I just want to thank you and recognize you for your efforts on the Union Square.
Oh, sure.
Especially on behalf of our Fair Housing office as well as the Housing Network, and we had discussions there. But I think you certainly took our role in this, in dealing with these issues and helping mediate that. I think you added a bit of certainly a considerable amount of professionalism and temperament that was necessary for helping resolve those issues for the residents.
Well, thank you.
There was no doubt there was some significant issues with the prior owners, and obviously the tenants had clearly some grievances that needed to be addressed. And I just want to thank you for your time and effort on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have Greg Brown from County Home.
Good morning. Morning.
Morning.
So starting with census, we're still holding at 40 with one adult daycare. We're at 3 potential resident candidates for this month, though. Staffing, we're fully staffed with 1 position that we're intentionally leaving open. Some of the events that have happened since May 7th was the 21st annual Medina Kids Care Horse Show. It threatened rain, but it held off for the entire day. It was great. On the 10th of May, Access the Arts hosted another drum circle. This was our second one. Really great. They bring in a professor that comes in, does a theme with the drums. It was really great to see. On the 23rd, Nature Pam's always one of our staples. She told the residents about the Cold War silos in South Dakota. Very interesting. The 25th, Access the Arts, they did card making, so they brought in the card stock and let the residents have at it, and then they took them back and put a cool stamp on the back that says, made by a Medina County Home resident. So when I give out my thank yous now, it's a little extra touch there. And then they've also been going out to visit the parks. June, we've had a root beer float social. One of the local churches hosted. Access the Arts hosted a concert out at Sharon Center Circle. It was the Dixon Violin concert. We've had the 4-H Pet Pals come and do a pet zoo at the home. And then upcoming, we've got an ice cream social from the King's Daughters as well. Some of the donations that we've had, Laura, I told her I was going to talk about her, and she said, I hope it's going to be good because I'm going to leave. So Access the OOA did have some left over of those boxed lunches. Every year she's been graciously donating them to the home. And if you saw the way they were decked out, I've got a picture in the newsletter that shows both my Miranda Yost in costume for the Wild West, as well as Laura. It was great. Also, Crop King's still giving us all the lettuce that, weekly. Plus now the tomatoes are in season for them since it's hydroponic, and those are over a pound. They're huge.
Can't imagine.
Some of the home improvements that we've done, we've refinished 2 room floors up on wing L2. We found out that we actually have oak floors up there versus the yellow pine, which is in most of the house. So that was kind of an interesting thing to find out. And then also on the 26th, I've got 5-Star Painting coming back in to take out more wallpaper and prep the walls and paint, and upstairs on L2 as well. And then one of the upgrades that we're doing, the 1A men's restroom is the absolute worst is for upgrading and renovation. So we've got cabinet, mirror. We're painting the floor, the tile floor, something we're going to try, as well as walls and dividers. And then I always give a shout out to the maintenance team because we've had them a lot here lately. Replaced a motor in one of our industrial washing machines. I took down, well, still in the process, but 6 trees off the property that are completely dead and standing. Refreshed the side entrance to our building. Can't say it's the double green doors anymore. It's the double black doors at the side. Also painted the concrete. Looks really great. Also, we had some broken tiles that came up in the walk-in cooler. They replaced those for us. Some of the upcoming ones, I've got some ADA thresholds that need to be replaced. And also, as we're upgrading that main hallway to have a new look, we're taking one of the standard sewing machine bases and putting a tabletop on it. It's the latest thing. It'll be really great, and it'll hold the visitor book on the way in. And that's all I have pending questions.
Sounds great. Thank
Great.
you, Greg.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay, next up, we have Eric Haynes from Soil and Water.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Since my last update, our office has assisted in 13 technical events, including 3 drainage site visits, 1 concept plan review, 2 pond permit applications, 3 pond management visits, 1 I&E, 1 erosion issue, 1 grazing and pasture land site visit, and our technician is working with ODA to survey and design a grass waterway for a producer in Granger Township. Our office was involved in 8 education events, a stream cleanup with 7th graders out at Highland Schools on May 9th. 36 students were able to participate. The Medina local work group meeting was held on May 17th. The local work group discussed the needs and concerns of agriculture community within Medina County. The topics discussed are used to determine program needs and future projects. And I want to thank Commissioner Harrison for joining us in that meeting. Our native plant sale pickup was May 19th and 20th. 34 county residents purchased native plants. We sold out early this year, but plan to have another sale in the fall. Our conservation educator, Kelly, presented on native plants and pollinators on May 26th with 7 participants. On May 31st, our office participated in a Portrait to Practice Expo put on by the Medina City School Districts to inform 64 teachers what resources are available through our office that fit in their curriculum and state standards. On June 3rd, the Medina County Park District assisted us in a workshop on invasive plant home management as part of our buyback program. 32 county residents were in attendance. I want to thank the parks for all their work they have done to educate the public on the importance of removing these invasives. June 5th, 9 county residents attended our Enhance Your Drainage Ditch presentation out at Highland Library. On June 5th, 2 staff members taught at a summer camp. 73 kids got to wade into the stream and learn about macroinvertebrates and their role in water quality. Upcoming events. Our invasive buyback program submission forms will open on our website on June 21st. We're focusing on efforts on the calorie pear, autumn olive, and bush honeysuckle. You can check our website and sign up to receive email reminders regarding the program. We also have information on what replacement trees and species participants can choose from, as well as a list of local tree removal services. If you need help in identifying any of these invasives, you can contact our office. This program is for residents, but we're also highly encouraging cities, townships, and private businesses to do their part to assist with removal efforts. We're in the sign-up window for producers within the Muskingum watershed. In Medina, that is Chippewa Creek and Kilbuck Creek watersheds. Funded practices include cover crop establishment and livestock exclusion fencing. All of this is made possible by the Muskingum Watershed Conservation District and our partners at ODA. Please reach out to our office for further information. The deadline for sign-up is July 7th. We're going to discuss this further, I believe, but last Friday I had a discussion with Commissioner Harrison regarding a revision in the language of the 24-25 biannual budget. If not revised, this would change the percentage of state match SWCD offices outside the Western Lake Erie Basin would receive. A letter was drafted and sent to Mark Romanchuk, Sharon Ray, and Melanie Miller. With their added support, hopefully the proposed amendments will be accepted. And I've actually brought in copies for you three of that letter.
I think we actually
Yeah, I think we have
package.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Our June board meeting will take place on the 21st at our office. And if you have a group, club, or municipality that is looking for a speaker, please reach out to our office for all things conservation-based. Thank you.
Any questions?
Actually, I had a chance to talk to Senator Romanchuk this weekend, actually, and he was aware of this, certainly supportive of making those adjustments. As I understand the timing, the omnibus, which includes those amendments that were due as of last Friday, each of the members of the finance could make their amendments. The omnibus coming out with whatever changes they're going to do is coming to the finance committee, as I understand it, tomorrow, and to the floor on Thursday. So if we're going to assist, we need to get our message very quickly to them. And of course, once it goes to the Senate floor, then of course the process, either House either concurs or doesn't concur. And if they don't concur, then it goes to conference. If they do concur, then it just goes straight to the governor. So there is as you know, behind the scenes, there is some discussion about initiative that the Senate version, whatever gets adopted on Thursday, would be it. And then the governor can't add. The governor, as they say, can never add. They can subtract. He can veto it, but he can't add.
Yeah.
So the time to advocate is actually today.
And I'm happy to put a letter together, since Senator Romanchuk's already received this letter.
We need to send it to the leadership, Matt Dolan, who's the chair,
Today.
Great.
and
Yep.
also to the Senate President, Matt Huffman.
Great. And with everybody's support, I'm happy to
Sure,
to write it.
please.
Yeah,
And
get
then
it
we can
out.
CC the others, because if
Right.
it goes to
Yep.
conference, it'd be important. Sharon Ray is in leadership, so
Yep.
it'd be helpful if it does go to a conference committee, then she would hopefully then be able to negotiate it to get it back in.
Right.
Or some of these back in.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this is it's kind of a reallocation, because one of the notes that I made from the letter was that
Yeah.
$5 million would be the change we're proposing, that would be allocated back to statewide HTO Ohio support rather than just the Western Lake Erie
Yeah.
Basin, which kind of leaves us on the outside.
Well, there's
right?
a huge amount of tax decreases,
Mm-hmm.
tax cuts, and they were looking for anything and everywhere to find money.
Yeah.
And help, like the healthy aging grants, which Chris is aware of and Laura Toth knows about, that was in this governor's version, the House version, that would give money to the counties, us about $270,000, I think it was, for healthy aging grants for seniors. The Senate removed because they were looking for money. And so you had this phenomena where they picked a lot of programs, and then you got to fight to get them back in.
Yep.
So that's what's going on now. And this is one of those that I agree we ought to be speaking up in favor of.
That was greatly appreciated. This came to me on Friday, so I've been doing a lot of my own research to figure out, first of all, what this exactly means and how can I move forward and assist with this. So I appreciate the support from you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, I guess we're all three in agreement. Let's
Absolutely.
Yep.
let them know.
If you
Okay.
should just use our electronic signatures, you're okay with
Yep,
that?
oh, I'm
Yeah.
fine
Great.
with that. Yep.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have any commissioners' resolutions. Any public comment? Okay, discussion session. Steve, do you have anything?
Nope.
I wanted to share an update. We had a NOACA board meeting on Friday, the June 9th, and that meeting, one of the agenda items on the meeting was to approve the overall work plan for the year. We've had some discussions here, so this is just kind of by way of an update. That overall work plan included within it what they're calling the Climate Action Plan. There have been some revisions to the language of the plan and also some revisions to the timeline of the plan. And so the intention, I think, was to put that in front of everybody for action and approval, which ultimately it did get approved. But I still have several reservations on behalf of the residents of Medina County. So ultimately, I cast a vote against the overall work plan on the basis that I think the Climate Action Plan is broad enough and its impact could at least have the potential to be significant enough that it might warrant some action outside of the overall work plan. In past, NOACA iterations where they've had economic development programs or other kinds of initiatives, they've taken a kind of a different approach to implementing those with different approval requirements and things like that. And I think that's kind of what I would like to see. There is a lot of discussion that with the revised timeline and language, they're going to spend more time working and trying to get a communication strategy around informing people of the benefits of the plan. And I certainly am going to pay close attention to how that process goes. But ultimately, my concerns on this we've shared them here before, but the basis of the research remains unclear. It's not clear to me that they've shown the emissions reports, which show Medina County in a kind of disproportionate standing as far as emissions are concerned. And I'm not sure ultimately if that's based on observed conditions or if that's based on projections. And it's hard to get behind and throw our support behind research or a plan that's going to be based on research when we're not sure if it's fundamentally observed conditions or projections of what they could be in the future. It also remains unclear if future funding is going to be tied to compliance with the plan. I think the statement, for the most part, generally has been that those aren't going to be conditional, but I could see other ways where that kind of comes in and eases into a scenario where your funding is going to be based on compliance with a plan that we might not have as strong of a voice as we'd want to have in what it says, what ultimately gets implemented. And what is clear, and it did come up in the meeting, is that the emission reduction targets, which do target, ultimately net zero emissions in 2050, likely exceed the requirements of what they would need to do. A compliant plan could have reduced emissions, but my understanding, and from the questions that I asked at Friday's meeting, there's no prerequisite that it target zero emissions. They're doing that to be aligned with the federal, kind of the target federal numbers now, current administration. But if future changes and evolutions there, I don't know that the plan is going to be designed to evolve back to lower standards that might be there and might be more attainable for everybody in the future. I fear that could have a disproportionate impact on our county, on our industry, and really a lot of things that we enjoy down here that keep our economic viability and our neighborhoods and county strong. So it was for those reasons that I voted against it. Bethany Dentler with Economic Development was there, and she also cast a vote against it, I think, with some of the same concerns. I don't want to speak for her, but and there were also 2 votes cast from Lorain County interests that were opposed to it, primarily on the basis of the inclusion of the Climate Action Plan. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of clarify the perspective on that vote. I think, it's hard to have a meeting here where we don't have an update of some of the things that are happening from NOACA. There is a positive, presence, and we do get the funding that comes from that. But I think as a board, we need to just keep an eye, and I think we're trying to do a better job of that, of keeping an eye on some of these initiatives and some of the unintended consequences that can come in the future. But I've read some of the news coverage of the reports, and I think it's easy to cast and paint with a broad brush and say it's about climate denial or some of these other more alarmist things that generate good headlines. But really, I think it's a commitment to good government and also making sure that we have a say in kind of the future and how things are going to be managed in Medina County.
And yet, several times, especially, they have to develop some goals. As you indicated, they're not mandated as what those goals are. And of course, they're using what they think are very ambitious goals that basically
Yes.
replicate what the current national policy
Right.
Intends to, but there's nothing in law that indicates that you have to have that.
Right.
As I understand, or even for the conditions of the grants coming from the federal government, do not require that same level.
Yeah, that came up too, that there was some indication at a prior board meeting about we wouldn't be eligible if we didn't have these things
So that's
adopted.
wrong.
And
Basically-
nobody's really shown us exactly
It's
how
untrue.
that's the case, right?
It's essentially
Probably-
untrue.
Yeah.
That's, I guess. It's like window dressing.
Yeah.
They're trying to,
Well-
Now, we've invited them several times, not only us, but Bethany Dentler and other parties, our planning commission director, have invited them to come and meet with us, meet with various groups within the county to discuss their inventory, their studies, the results of that. And they have refused to
We have-
step foot in Medina County to address that.
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens, because the indication from this new communication strategy is that they are going to be doing a lot of that. Now,
Okay.
which, right, on its face seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
The one committee meeting that I attended where they were talking about having those discussions, there were certain, one of the bullet points was that we want to focus on, getting all sides, getting, alternative opinions. And so I thought, well, that's a good thing. But then there was a sub-bullet that said, certain opinions and conclusions and what they referred to as climate denial wouldn't be considered an acceptable opinion that could be discussed. And so while at some level I understand they want to make sure that the discussion is productive, I think their definition of what constitutes climate denial and other, people's definition of what constitutes that, it's easy, and I've seen it happen even in the board meetings where certain perspectives can be ignored on the basis of, well, that's just another way of being a climate denialist. And if we're calling everybody who's opposed to it and painting with that broad brush, you're not ultimately looking for collaboration. Right.
Questioning their prior reports that were published, questioning the data is not acceptable.
That's kind of been the rules that the rules of engagement we've heard. Yeah. And so, I do understand if you're gonna go into a room and we're gonna bring a group full of rabble-rousers into the room and have them shouting down the presenter, that's not productive.
Agreed.
But I think there's a fine line between that and having presenters in a room maybe being confronted with I'll borrow a phrase, inconvenient truths about things and opinions that might be different and outside of the mainstream of what's discussed in the rooms where some of these policies are established. And so I do think there's an expectation on my part that if they are going to broaden the communication strategy, the place to start is where they don't have you don't start by preaching to the choir, right? You start by converting the non-believers, and then you work your way up to the people that you've gotten. So I don't know where the next steps are. I did leave the door open, and I still do leave the door open to if the nature of how this has been adopted improves, and they are truly open to working to collaborate and to bring in other perspectives. That by the time that the plan is finalized later this year, I think is what they're shooting for, is December. Maybe our perspective on it could change too. It's certainly not a closed door, but right now there's a lot of things that concern me in terms of things that ultimately I think are designed to discount or even ignore a lot of the opinions of some of the outlying parts of the region. So.
Was there, change the subject, was there public discussion about the Boston Road interchange?
Yes, that did come up as well. The Executive Director, Grace Galucci, mentioned it in her report. I think more in the context of some of the press clippings around NOACA's stated opposition to the way that statute came to be. And then at the end of her comments, it was the North Royalton mayor's alternate, whose name escapes me. It might have been Tom Jordan, but I don't want to say a name if it's wrong. But it was the mayor's alternate from North Royalton, made a point to say, well, North Royalton and a lot of parts of Cuyahoga County are in favor of this. And then County Executive Chris Ronayne also weighed in to say that that the county is supportive of the initiative, which I think might come as news to some folks in Brunswick, because, and maybe some of the other parts of Cuyahoga County, because I think the county executive has been on the record against sprawl and a lot of the things that could happen if a ramp were there. But the other thing that came up that was interesting was there was a discussion of the economic benefits of it. And I think a lot of what's been talked about from Strongsville's perspective has been more safety oriented. I think if a neighboring county or community is looking at that through an economic development lens, I was already concerned about the way that happened, but my concern goes a lot higher. My antennae go up a lot stiffer if that's what they're planning to do. Is looking at this as an opportunity to grow the footprint of Cuyahoga County in a direction where it's otherwise landlocked.
What that actually adds credence to those that have indicated a concern that this would help produce another exit for an industrial park expansion in Strongsville, and utilizing Boston Road as that corridor.
Right.
For accessing it, because they don't want the truck traffic going through downtown Strongsville.
Right. And so again,
Okay.
reading into the conversation that happened there,
Yeah.
brief though it was, that was concerning too.
When will final decisions on that be made?
Well, that's a great question. I think the timeline for construction is what, 26, 27, something
They
like
just
that.
published the engineer's report
Yeah.
that Strongsville hired for that, showing the various options. It's on social media. There's quite a bit of it. I've not reviewed the report. It has pretty in-depth traffic analysis. There's also the no-build scenario in there. If they don't do it, what the consequences are.
If they
and they
do
looked
do
at
it,
traffic projections on
Do the
that.
projections so huge, needed eminent domain if they do it?
I think
Oh,
the only
yeah,
way you
pretty
do it,
sizable,
yeah. And some of if you look at I don't know if there's one or if there was two Medina County options, at least one of the Medina County construction options goes right through a residential neighborhood that would not be inexpensive to acquire the property.
Oh, yeah, just I've actually closed down South or North Carpenter.
Yeah.
And then diverted to connect up to Howe through that residential neighborhood. And the road was never designed to be a major thoroughfare.
Right.
It was meant to be a side street. So it's a major change, certainly has impact on the residences within that general area, as well as Brunswick. And the questions long-term as to what the impact would be along that Boston Road corridor.
Yeah.
In terms of traffic and the ability, and the costs, particularly given the jet fuel or the pipeline.
Yep.
As to whether and that's been the issue for decades. If the state, if the public entity has to move it, that's about as expensive as building an interchange.
Right.
Because that is the cost that the public would have to pay for moving it, to make room for a widening.
And back to in a side conversation after the topic came up at NOACA, somebody asked me if as a board, if we've taken any action to oppose it. And I said, well, we did send a letter opposing the initial legislation, but I don't know that we've taken any further action or weighed in. And I guess my thought is if, maybe this sounds bad, but if Cuyahoga's weighing in and putting their weight behind getting it done, it might be something we want to take a little closer look at, whether we should take some action to.
There are some affected county highway on this. I mean, even sections of Carpenter Road are still in the township, actually, so the county has jurisdiction.
Yep.
So we do have a stake in this, aside from the city of Brunswick, but at this point, it's kind of a slow burn because they're going through the studies.
Yeah.
And I think NOACA and not only go through their approval process, but also the city of Brunswick would have to approve.
Yeah.
And as long as that statute remains intact, Brunswick can actually dictate whether that'll go forward or not.
Well, I don't think that's changing anytime soon, based
No, I
on the
don't think
council
so
people
either.
I've talked
So,
to. Yeah.
And there are some potential revisions within the current Sub-House Bill 33, which is the operating budget, regarding the issue. So I think we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out.
Sure. But I guess I would, if the time comes and some of those other barriers get checked off the list, if there is an opportunity to weigh in, I think we're all, of a similar mind in terms of how that happened, that's really not the way we want to see things get done from Columbus.
Exactly.
Anything else?
I think I've consumed enough time.
Anybody else for discussion session? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation and to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or official.
Second.
Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Okay, we will be going off camera, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.